of the School of Education of the University of San Carlos in Cebu City. In this video, we focus on outcomes-based education as a philosophy and theory of education and a framework for curriculum development in Philippine higher education. This is articulated in CHED Memorandum Order Number 46, Series of 2012, on the policy standards to enhance quality assurance in Philippine higher education through outcomes-based and typology-based quality assurance. Further, the revised program standards and guidelines or PSGs issued by CHED for the different curricular programs offered by higher education institutions specify expected educational outcomes of graduates at the level of programs and courses. It is in this context that we discuss OBE as the overarching theory and philosophy for curriculum development in line with the national mandate of the Commission on Higher Education in the Philippines. Outcomes-based education is one concept with many phases, versions, and differing views and interpretations. OBE may be regarded as a theory or philosophy of education which embodies and expresses a certain set of beliefs and assumptions about learning, teaching, and education as a system. As a systemic structure of education, several authors claim that OBE's focus is the totality of education as a system, from the vision and aims down to the level of classroom practice. OBE may be also regarded as a curriculum framework to guide curriculum design, and at the course level, it is a form of classroom practice which is also called outcomes-based teaching and learning. As you see, OBE has many versions, and it is important to understand what version of OBE is being referred to in academic discourse. OBE version 1 is called Outcome-Based Education according to Dr. William Spady, who is often referred to as the father of OBE. I have been privileged to be a part of an intensive faculty development training on OBE at USC sometime in 2016, and here is a photo of me with Dr. Spady. According to Dr. Spady, outcome-based education means clearly focusing and organizing everything in an educational system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of their learning experiences. He defined these as outcomes, and outcomes are the clear learning results that we want students to demonstrate at the end of significant learning experiences, whether they be at the end of a course or a program. As we know, there are different levels of outcomes. There are institutional outcomes, there are program outcomes, there are course outcomes and unit outcomes, or what are called intended learning outcomes. An example of a course outcome for my students in a research class for a master's in education is that they are able to write and present a coherent research proposal in their area of specialization in education in accordance with accepted professional standards of research writing. This outcome is aligned with our graduate program outcomes for students to become reflective practitioners who are able to conduct inquiry or research in their field to improve educational practice, and with the institutional outcome for our graduates to be competent in their respective fields. Still on Spady's OBE version 1, his philosophy of OBE is focused on success for all students and faculty. In line with this philosophy, OBE's two purposes and three premises are shown here. As you see, the purposes and premises of OBE encompass a learner-centered philosophy that recognizes learners' potential for success, despite individual differences. Further, OBE aims to ensure that students will develop the knowledge, competence, and qualities needed to be successful after they exit the educational system. Spady called this the culminating outcome of significance or exit outcomes. Further, schools and educational institutions control the conditions that promote learning success for all students. Summing up OBE version 1, we have Spady's four power principles for OBE and the demonstration mountain of complexity, which presents a hierarchy of outcomes from low-level outcomes such as discrete content skills and structured performance tasks all the way up to life role functioning. Further, SPADI's OBE version 1 has evolved over the past 3 decades from traditional to transitional to transformational OBE. He called the shifts from one level to another as paradigm shifts, encompassing changes in articulation of outcomes, curricula, as well as ways of thinking, beliefs, and approaches to education. Here is OBE version 2, Outcomes-Based Education at Institutional Level, which is designed for quality compliance to meet requirements for accreditation and external evaluation, which is assessed at the level of institutions. The focus of this version of OBE is institutional level outcomes for groups of students. These outcomes are grouped into 4 dimensions, namely knowledge outcomes, skills outcomes, attitude values outcomes, and graduate attributes, which specify relationships with society and with particular constituency outcomes. Finally, we have OBE version 3, also called Outcomes-Based Teaching and Learning or OBTL by Biggs and Tang 2007. This is the version of OBE at the level of classroom practice, where outcomes are defined at the course level specifically to enhance teaching and assessment. It uses the constructive alignment model as the framework for reflective practice in enhancing teaching and students' learning. You will see here that in the constructive alignment model, the intended learning outcomes are the focal point where teaching and learning activities are designed to meet the learning outcomes, and the assessment methods are designed to assess whether students can demonstrate the learning outcomes. Further, the structure of ordered learning outcomes or solo taxonomy is used to describe the different levels of outcomes, moving from a hierarchy from pre-structural to unistructural to multi-structural to relational and extended abstract outcomes. Summing up, OBE is one big concept with several versions and interpretations in educational practice. We view OBE as a theory and philosophy in education, as a systemic structure for education, as curriculum framework or design, and as classroom practice at the level of the courses we teach. I hope these big ideas on OBE will be relevant to you and to us all higher education faculty in developing outcomes-based courses as we teach in flexible learning modes in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for your attention.